Morning, and we are going to sit down here with Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury for the Sheriff's Sit Down, brought to you by our Community Credit Union. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Morning.
We have seen a lot of increased traffic over the last couple of days as we move from Thanksgiving into the major holiday shopping season, and that has led to a variety of collisions, some fatal. We've been getting reports and questions in on some of the incidents over the weekend. We're looking into them, and I know you've got some accident reports, but what can you just tell us about the shift from Thanksgiving, end of November, into December, how quickly all the conditions in the roadways change, and just more people out and about as well?
Well, we talked, a month or so ago is about the darkness.
Yeah.
One thing in the morning, and that changes, and the weather conditions and the visibility, obviously, with rain is real tough. And then I don't know if we talked about it too much, more of a message is brought to you by the State Patrol, but we continue to talk about seatbelts, and we actually do a pretty good job in this state compared to a lot of places, but they work. And the collisions that I've heard about over the weekend, again, I haven't seen our reports, and I haven't seen the ones, of course, across the state.
Sure.
But many of them involve substance issues, speed, and lack of seatbelts.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you can tell right when you roll up on a scene if somebody's been in a seatbelt or not by the way they're positioned, and they do make a big difference. And so we continue to ask people that and just to slow down a little bit and use all the proper driving habits, turn signals, give yourself, let the turn signal, go on and off a couple times before you change lanes. You don't just hit it and go.
Sure.
And that seems to be what happens. You get up on the major highways and people just blast from lane to lane. I think we're a little bit better than that down here, but many of our roads are just a divided roadway, a car going each direction. And in Mason County, many of our roads don't have a shoulder to them, so there's not a lot of room there. And most of the time it's slowing down.
We talk a lot about speed and problems around the North Shore, South Shore roads, things like that during the summertime. Do you see the same sorts of problems in the winter as well, or do people know, we are going through a lot more blind curves, the fog coming off the water is sometimes pretty intense, so those areas are less of a concern in the winter, but then what pops up as more of a concern in the winter?
I think in the summertime it's traffic volume, because there's so many more people down there pulling boats and trailers throughout our county, RVs and things that slow down the traffic. People get antsy and they try to go around and creates traffic issues and collisions. And then of course our overall volume of people almost doubles or more in this county during the spring and summer. And so just the sheer number of people create more traffic issues for us in the wintertime. And it's anywhere. It's the same thing anywhere, but you start to get in the areas around our county. We've got a lot of shaded areas. You come out of a straight stretch, you go into a curve that has the trees over it. Once we get in the freezing season, it doesn't thaw out during the day, and then it gets icy.
Yeah.
Used to be a tremendous problem going on Highway 101 out of Mason County into Thurston County at the Mason-Thurston line.
Sure.
I always call it the White Barn area. That place, a lot of the trees now, they've logged them off on both sides. And that span between the Mason County line and Holiday Valley Road, it used to just get treacherous in there because it was shaded all the time. And once it froze, and going up the hill by Holiday Valley, coming into Mason County used to be a treacherous area, and they've logged some of that out. But there's some of those places they just don't get the sunshine when it starts getting cold out.
Talk to me a little bit, maybe ease the minds of the listeners a smidge on holiday hours, working, and things like that. I know a lot of folks want to take time off as we move to the holiday season. You guys in the sheriff's office needs to have full roles, people working all the time. Everything is okay there. And then I wanted to bring in some of the fun, the more lighthearted events through December, and the parades and all those things you guys get asked to do. How does all that work and tax on maybe the hours? It's
been really tough this year. One of our our green and our gold team leave messages, a pass on book each night to what's happened on the shift, so the next shift kind of knows what's happening. I read one yesterday, came out last week from one of our watch commanders. It said the great schedule with everybody being gone is now coming back. We had a lot of people with injuries and things that were occurring, and of course we're still reeling from our 15 losses from the year before, which increased the volume of work for everybody. But we had a number of people out, and it's been really, really tough through spring and summer, which is our toughest time of year, and people are starting to get back at it. But our calls, I always tell people, when you get into, everybody says, oh, it'd be fun to do this, and a lot of people ask about our business. The one thing I remind people is that in the law enforcement business, it sounds really glamorous, but remember that we're always working when everybody else is having fun.
Sure.
You know, the holiday weekends and Christmas and those kind of things. And it's tough for the people at work because there's always somebody having to work. As we go into the Christmas parade, I know this year, I think the person that's been leading the charge and putting our Christmas parade together was Deputy Brewer, Cindy Brewer. She's got a different role in our office now. I think a couple of the other people have kind of taken over, put together for the Christmas parade. But, you know, we really enjoy that.
Yeah.
You know, it's so nice to walk through, especially when there's been a few times when all the agencies have been here, when all four of us are able to walk through together, and that's neat.
Yeah.
But we have such a great turnout in Mason County. For such a small area, the parade just gets packed, and it's a great time for us. And then we, of course, just so you know, you got to remember, we've got our Polar Plunge coming up too here pretty quick.
Oh, jeez, we sure do.
Don't forget about that. You got to start training, man.
February,
start training.
That first weekend in February.
Yeah, so we've got Polar Plunge coming up, and of course, we started into that whole thing with November, December, and January for our Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. Those are always really, really rough times. And I just remind people over and over again on the hard side of this, it's not always a great time for everybody.
Yeah.
The holidays can be a very, very stressful time for people coming and going and just things in their personal lives. And it's a very tough time for law enforcement. We see a lot more calls for persons that having issues during that time. The last thing I would tell you, I was listening yesterday, and not so much in our area, but I was listening yesterday to calls coming out for people's cars getting broken into in the parking lots and doors and things in the malls. Listen out of King County, Pierce County. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
But when you get in those concentrated areas and at home, lock your doors and your windows and all those simple things that can really help.
It just is. You just have to kind of remember, these are all crimes of opportunity.
Yes.
And, you know, it won't happen every time you leave your door unlocked, but it could happen the next time you leave your door unlocked.
And I still hear, I mean, it's been years we've been saying not to this. I still hear, well, we're just a sleepy little community. I just leave my keys in my car. That doesn't work anymore.
No.
I don't know how many times we've said that for the last 20 years, but people still want to believe they can just leave their keys in their car, leave their doors unlocked, their windows down, and things are going to be there when they get back. And it just isn't the way society is. It's not just here. It's all over. And I think you have to be mindful that, like you say, that crimes of opportunity and keeping things taken care of.
Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury during the Sheriff's Sit Down here, brought to you by our Community Credit Union. Thank you, sir. Good to see you.